How'd you think about what he did, and then just kind of projecting forward, how do you think he fits into what you do on defense?
Yeah, man, I think he took advantage of his time in Zoom meetings and learning, and then we got him out there for the walkthrough on Saturday. He was locked in. If we were comfortable with really where he was, what he understood, I think there's some carryover. And any time with a new guy, you're just trying to relate terminology more so than anything else. I mean, everybody has the same defenses for the most part here and there. I mean, I know everybody has a little bit of different things, but just relating terminology just to what he's done in the past, to where he can learn and understand. But I thought he was a pro in how he approached it. Was pleased with him on Sunday. What he obviously made a huge play for us there. So hopefully moving forward, man, it just keeps going with him. He gets, as he continues to get around the guys more, around the staff more, and a little bit more involved with the defense, we'll kind of see where it goes in terms of what we're going to do with him.
And one more from me on secondary, at least. Amani Hooker, not trying to get you in trouble on this, but is there anything you can do to teach him any different than what he did on Sunday with the hit across the middle? I mean, it seemed like his technique was good, hit him square in the chest, but what do you tell him, and you just want him to keep playing aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bang-bang play. The officials saw it, how they saw it. I mean, we coach all that stuff up with all of our guys, just about where they need to target in terms of staying away from the head and neck and all the other things. But it was a bang-bang play. The officials saw it, how they saw it, and unfortunately for us, it went the other way.
Teron?
Yeah, good morning, Coach. What were some of the things that were going right for you guys? Did it seem like you were able to get a solid pass rush? You were better on third downs. What went right for you last week?
Yeah, I think the guys were locked in. I thought we had probably our best week of practice, going from Thursday to Friday to Saturday. And I think it showed. I think it carried over. I thought the guys had a lot of energy going out there. And really with the nature of the game, I think they knew they had to respond. They had to answer the call, and it was kind of our time to kind of keep us in that game early on. And they did. Like, they knew it on the sideline. They went out there every drive battling, trying to get stops like we always do. But I think the execution was good. But most importantly, they were making plays. Like, they were playing hard and they were making plays. Like, it's never really about the call. It's about these guys hopefully being in the right spot and then ultimately making plays. And they were. Like, they were doing what we were asking of them and even more. So just pleased with their effort, pleased with their energy, pleased with their execution. Like, hopefully we can build off it.
And you were able to get a contribution from Crawford and Roberson without Clowney. I'm sure that was something that helped out. What did those guys bring to the table going out there to not replace Clowney, but to kind of fill that role, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, those two, we had a bunch of guys that stepped up at multiple positions for us and made plays and did things that we needed to do in order to win the game. But I think Roby and Jack, both those guys were effective in terms of affecting the quarterback. I thought they had some good rushes. I thought they were getting into the pocket. They just really were doing what we were asking them to do in terms of the game plan as well. But I mean, even beyond them, like, Hart was out there. Obviously, Borders was out there. We already talked about King. Like, we had a bunch of guys step up and go in there and execute and play. And I mean, I think it shows kind of our leadership too, being able to help those guys as they're out there really for the first time in some of those spots.
David Clark.
Speaking of Tart, Shane, he blew up that one play on the goal line down there. Is that an accurate indicator of sort of his physical ability, or did he read that, kind of know what was coming in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big, powerful kid. When he gets going straight ahead, he's going to be tough to stop. I think he is learning more, and he prepared last week to play. He knew he was going to play. I think that obviously goes into it. But yeah, he's a big, powerful kid, and he's learning every day. He's getting more familiar with what we're asking him to do, where he needs to be lined up. As long as he can get lined up, those big guys, they can get lined up in the right spot and go straight ahead. Usually good things are going to happen for us.
John Glenn.
Hey Shane, when it comes to guys on the practice squad, you know that there was like Borders or Wyatt Ray or Tart. What are some things that you need to see from them, you know, while they're on the practice squad, to make you think, you know, to have that confidence that they can do it on the in the games as well? What are some particulars that say that these guys are ready, even though they don't have a lot of NFL experience or maybe any NFL experience?
Yeah, well, they're going up against our offense day in and day out. So all the things that we see in terms of, and talk about technique, fundamentals, being able to go up against the tight ends in our offense, being able to go up against the offensive line, the receivers, whether it's AJ, Corey, whoever, right? Like they're competing against those guys and they take pride in that. And I think it's important that they do take pride in it because really that's their showcase, so to speak. And on top of that, just how they're showing in terms of practice, I think their preparation, like week in and week out, especially in this year, when things are so fluid with the roster, with COVID and everything else, I think every guy's got to prepare to play every single week. Just not knowing how things are going to shake out as the week unfolds. I think that's a big part of it, just being a pro off the field, being engaged in meetings and not just assuming they're not going to be in there, because at any time, obviously, any of them could be up and we have to count on them to play.
Thanks. And Roberson certainly had a big game. You know, I guess he'd only played, you know, probably a handful of snaps all year. What were the main things that were holding him back? You know, was it injury? Was it illness? Was it people in front of him? You know, what was kind of keeping him from getting in the lineup much at all before? And you know, how big a difference is that to go from 5 to 50 in one game?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what was asked of him to do. He had to do it based on where we were at. I think obviously he had the injury early, then he had the sickness. So there's been multiple things that's really kind of hindered him up to this point. I'm glad he's finally healthy. He's feeling good, and I was excited to see him play. And I thought he did a heck of a job going out there. Hopefully we can continue that and build off it and continue to stay consistent with what we're asking him to do. But I was pleased with him, man. I'm proud of him. He's been working hard to get going with this stuff, and when he got his opportunity, he answered.
Thanks.
Terry?
Shane, when you got a lot of new parts like you had on Sunday, bringing up guys from the practice squad and adding Desmond King, how much do you have to simplify and maybe even dial back a few things in order to make things work for the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's all based on Desmond was probably the one guy we were just a little leery of. These other guys have been around. I know they haven't really done it in a game-like situation, but they've repped the majority of stuff that we've done throughout training camp, throughout the season as they get mixed in, taking reps off some of these other guys throughout practice. But it's in the back of your mind. There's certain things we got to protect them on, especially Desmond just not wanting to overload him too much, and we can kind of control that a little bit situationally just with what he's doing. But yeah, you got to be aware of it. You never want to ask guys to do something they don't know how to do. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to their team. So you got to have that in your mind. And we communicate, like obviously with him, with the other coaches, just in terms of what we feel comfortable with, what he feels comfortable with, so he can go out there and play.
But even along those lines, even though maybe you simplified things and had to dial back, it seemed like that the defense was much more aggressive in its approach maybe than it had been in previous weeks. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I thought we were probably a little bit more attacking, maybe call-wise and maybe just in terms of our approach to the game, the individual battles, just trying to be a little bit more aggressive, more challenging across the board. That's been a big thing for us. But yeah, I would say, like, honestly, Desmond didn't really hold us back too much. He's a bright kid, and he worked at it in the Zoom meetings and when he got here with obviously Coach Booker and Coach Midget. So he was pretty much up to speed. Like I said, he was a pro in how he handled the situation, and to be able to go out there and do what he did, really with one day being with the guys, is kind of remarkable.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
Very, very good and very effective. Really, the last 3 years. I mean, that Matt Eberflus does a heck of a job, and they got really good players. And they fly around. They do a great job of tackling, getting the ball out. You got a ton of respect for them. They're fun to watch if you enjoy defense, except when you have to play them. But we know we got our work cut out for us, and it's a great challenge. But they are really efficient about getting people off the field, and they do a hell of a job.
Terry?
Arthur, when you got having to plug people in and out on the offensive line due to injuries, how much does that affect the way that you have to shift things and trying to protect Ryan in the passing game, maybe getting the ball out a little quicker and different calls and things and whatnot?
Yeah, certainly you got to understand what matchup issues you may have and really the situation and how the game's being played. It all goes into you got to take account for all of that stuff. And so when you're moving guys around, especially when you're playing a really good front like the Bears, and depending on what the situation is, the score of the game, how much time's left, you got to decide how aggressive you want to be and where you got any kind of potential matchup issues. But we're constantly evaluating that in between series, and it's definitely on my mind.
Teron?
Yeah, good morning, Coach. You guys kind of have a three-headed monster brewing in your running back committee. How does Derrick Henry, Foreman, and McNichols, how do they complement each other and give different looks to a defense?
Well, obviously Derrick is the main guy back there, and obviously he's had a ton of success for us. Foreman just gives us a different look back there. He's another big guy. He can run. He can put his foot in the ground and get upfield. And then J-Mac's done a great job in protections, gives us another element. He runs hard. But all three of those guys, it's like everybody that we have on offense, if they're up on Sunday, they're going to have a role for us. And those three guys the last couple of weeks have got a pretty good thing going.
Teresa?
Art, you look at A.J. Brown, the way he just keeps developing his game. I mean, the stop and go on the one catch and run, and then bringing in that catch and extending for the touchdown. What do you like how he pushes himself to keep getting better, and what's the limit for his game?
Well, it's just like we ask all these guys. We're just constantly trying to improve, and AJ, he's got a great mindset and he works at it, and we're constantly trying to expand his role. And, as his route tree grows, I don't like to put a cap on something, we're getting a comparison and say that. We're just trying to focus every week just to get better offensively. And he does a great job individually working on his craft.
John, Connor?
Hey, Arthur, question for guys on the practice squad. When you're watching them during the season, especially guys with limited or no NFL experience, what are some of the things that you need to see to be confident that they'll be able to produce well in games?
Well, a lot of it is you just watch how they practice and prepare. Obviously you're running the scout team, you're running another team's offense, but there is some correlation. There's a lot of carryover most teams for certain routes that you see people run or blocking schemes for the most part. Obviously, everybody's got different nuances and how they may teach certain things, but you just want to watch their improvement. Obviously, everything, their attitude. And then behind the scenes, they're obviously involved in all our meetings. So it all goes into effect. And then some of it's just what happens, circumstances. You get guys injured or guys are, down for whatever reason, and then you got to have guys ready. And we got no issue once the guy's done all that. He's ready to roll. We'll put him in there, and we've had success with guys doing that.
Sure. And on the Isaiah front, I guess still been a few weeks here that he's been available, but not active on game days. Can you sort of give us an idea of if you're seeing progress from Isaiah?
Well, like I said last week, he's out there practicing, and as long as he's out there practicing and develop, and obviously it'll be from the top down with Braves and John and every, what they want to do. But all I can say is when we get these guys, whoever's up, they tell me who's up. We we get them out there and we'll work with them. And as long as they're practicing, that helps.
Thanks.
David Butler.
Arthur, with Darius Leonard, is he a guy that you have to worry about where he's lining up, or are you just worried about how quickly he's going to get to the ball?
Well, you know, they're a pretty sound scheme. I mean, they're not really trying to trick you. Obviously, everybody's got different third down packages. You just got to account for him. He's a great player. He's a very productive player. So obviously, if you don't block Leonard, he's going to disrupt the game.
Jim.
Arthur, it seems like maybe Derek's workload was reduced a little bit on Sunday as you had a lead. Are you looking for opportunities to maybe take some of the pressure off him when you get a chance, or is that just kind of the way the game played
Kind
out?
of the way the game went. You know, we obviously didn't have enough, in my opinion, productive series. We had some drives. We made some plays when we had to, but you know, we need more plays. And the way the game went, obviously in the really late 4-minute, and you know, Deontay took some of those carries, but the game went. We needed more plays, and we didn't do a good enough job being more efficient in a lot of our drives.
All right, I think I'll give you a little bit of time back. So appreciate your time.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Coach.